The political landscape of the digital world is changing dramatically. In an unprecedented move, the new U.S. President Donald Trump has announced the launch of Stargate, an ambitious AI infrastructure project. In parallel, Elon Musk has taken on an official role in the United States government, leading a department focused on modernizing federal technology. Meanwhile, France has appointed a minister for digitalization and AI, investing $2.5 billion in a national AI plan. In 2025, the digital realm is emerging as a political and strategic space, with artificial intelligence and digital infrastructure at the forefront. The map of power is being redrawn. Let's explore its new coordinates.
Digital Ritual is a podcast by Digital Pilgrims. This season, Lauren Johnson and Paul Chase explore the present and with expert guests begin to unravel the future. Join them as they tackle the mysteries of a new reality. Digital Ritual is sponsored by All Media, your partner in digital transformation.
Welcome to a new episode. I'm Paul, and I'm here with my co-host Lauren Johnson. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Paul. Hi, everyone. We're also joined by Adrian Sicilia, CEO of All Media and author of the book Digital Pilgrims. Adrian, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you, Lauren and Paul. It's always a pleasure to be here. These conversations have become an essential part of my thinking process.
Adrian, today we want to talk about something that sounds ominous, almost like it's straight out of a movie. We want to discuss the new global order. But away from conspiracies, we're here to discuss what's really happening. That is, how the geopolitical map is being reshaped. This is still a tech podcast, but I feel like everything is connected, even if it sounds cliché. So, let's start with the basics. What does politics have to do with the digital landscape?
Short answer, everything. No, but seriously, that's a great question, Paul. For me, the very existence of the digital realm has changed everything. In my book, Digital Pilgrims, I discuss how anything touched by digital technology is transformed and expanded. A few years ago, this was a hypothesis. Now it's clear as water. The digital realm has become a new plane of existence, a kind of territory. The digital and the natural don't just coexist. They influence each other in ways we are only beginning to understand. So it was only a matter of time before politics also became intertwined with the digital.
So, would you say the digital world isn't just an extension of the physical world, but an entirely new terrain?
Yes and no. On the one hand, it feels new, but they're so intertwined that sometimes they seem like the same thing. Can you really distinguish between the two today? What I see is an overlap, an integration, what we're beginning to recognize as a hybrid habitat. The digital realm is a new playing field, and I think we're all starting to realize that. One recent example is the 2024 US presidential elections. Since Trump's first presidency, we've seen how social media has taken on a defining role, how it has become a new protagonist. That was an election literally fought on social media.
That's true. Since then, social media hasn't just been a communication channel, it's become a space of power.
It was already a space of power, but now everyone sees it. Think about the fact that a sitting president was banned from Twitter, sparking a global debate about what can be said and who has the power to say it. Now, a few years later, Twitter is X, Trump is back on social media, back as president, but the landscape seems to have shifted. Everything feels more intense, the volume turned up.
And speaking of Elon Musk, it's fascinating how his role as a tech billionaire has become inseparable from politics. There was even speculation about him taking on a more formal government role, and it's no coincidence that many major tech companies donated money to Trump's inauguration.
There's a clear willingness from big tech to align with power because they know this is the moment when the state will move forward with key decisions. The Stargate initiative is a prime example of this alignment. Announced by President Trump in collaboration with OpenAI, SoftBank, and Oracle, Stargate represents a massive investment in AI infrastructure in the US over the next 5 years. This includes building state-of-the-art data centers aimed at securing America's dominance in the AI race. It's a bold move that shows how tech companies and governments are becoming deeply interconnected, not just in policy but in shared strategic interests.
I remember the US Vice President-elect even stated that the country's tech companies are, in a sense, synonymous with the United States itself.
That's a clear symbol of how digital boundaries are being defined. What once seemed like a fluid, limitless space is now perceived as a territory that needs regulation and defense, like any other.
It's interesting because if we look back to the early days of the web, that hippie, free-spirited dream of a borderless network seems so distant. It's wild that decades later, we're talking about the web as a territory that needs maps and borders.
And let's not forget the recent attempt to ban TikTok in the US, labeling it as a tool of Chinese influence.
I was thinking about the same example. The demarcation of the digital realm isn't just a metaphor, it's a series of political, economic, and cultural actions.
Exactly. What once seemed like an ethereal, almost intangible space has become a power arena as tangible as any physical border.
Speaking of digital territories, we can't ignore the impact of artificial intelligence. Adrian, what are your thoughts on the relationship between AI and governments?
Artificial intelligence has grown so impactful that government involvement is inevitable. For example, France has already appointed a minister for AI, a gesture that highlights its strategic importance. Moreover, companies like OpenAI are significantly increasing their presence in political spaces. In 2024, OpenAI spent $1.76 million on government lobbying.
That makes sense. AI has undoubtedly been the most transformative force in the industry and the world over the past 2 years. Its rapid advancement makes inaction almost negligent.
Even tech companies themselves are calling for regulation. Anthropic, for instance, has been very vocal about this. And let's not forget the open letter that several U.S. tech companies signed some time ago, urging more oversight.
Absolutely. These companies know exactly what they're dealing with, a profoundly disruptive tool, and possibly more. There are innovations in the lab we're not even aware of yet. AI isn't just redefining productivity and labor, it's also at the center of international political intrigue. Let's not forget, we're in the midst of a technological race that, in many ways, parallels the space race. In a sense, we're revisiting that historical moment, but with unprecedented technological speed. China and the United States are going to be the primary players in all of this.
That's a powerful comparison. The space race was about conquering the unknown, but the AI race feels like a struggle to control the uncontrollable.
Exactly. And in this context, the lack of regulation isn't just an oversight, it's a risk to sovereignty itself. We used to talk about digital gardens, but I think we're entering an era of digital nations. Just as countries have territorial waters or airspace, the digital realm should be thought of as another territory, a sphere of influence.
But that territory is much harder to protect. You can't build a wall or dig a trench to control the digital.
That's right. The nature of the digital realm makes it more elusive. You could try to erect barriers, but their effectiveness would be minimal.
Adrian, before we wrap up, what's your vision for the future of the global digital map?
I think the key will lie in infrastructures. We need to think of each country's network as critical infrastructure, like roads or airports. I believe the world is heading toward a new definition of a faceted polygon, interconnected digital territories with a certain degree of separation, a collection of adjacent plots.
That's a very evocative image.
And fitting for closing this conversation. Adrian, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for sharing your insights. We'll be reflecting on them until next time.
A pleasure as always. Thank you both.
We just spoke with Adrian Sicilia, CEO of In All Media and author of the book Digital Pilgrims. Lauren, another conversation with Adrian that leaves me deep in thought. It's like accessing the full map while I was just walking along the sidewalk.
Totally, Paul. Sometimes I leave these episodes feeling like I've gotten spoilers from the future.
Well, I think we've captured a bit of that in the videos we've been working on with him.
That's true. On the Digital Pilgrims YouTube and TikTok channels, we're publishing videos we made with Adrian Sicilia that really give us a glimpse into the near future.
If I were listening to this, I wouldn't miss it. I'd want to be the first to comment on the philosophical debate forum that's about to form in the comments.
Please, Paul, make sure to read the previous comments before you post.
I'm heading there right now to read the latest ones. See you.
Okay, we've lost his attention. I'll take the opportunity to say goodbye to all of you. See you on the Digital Pilgrims channels or in the next episode of this podcast.
This is a Digital Pilgrims podcast, powered by Coderful, an In All Media service management platform for remote teams. Subscribe and find out more at inallmedia.com. Digital Ritual, the urgent questions.